Welcome everyone to our open house today, where you will hear Sandy and our talented alumni share about our PGA Advanced Diploma in Presence Oriented Psychotherapy. And before we start, I would just like to share a little about Just Being Center. So, we are an organization founded in 2011, and we provide initiatives, trainings, programs that facilitate the recognition of our inner wholeness. And we encourage and support the access to this wholeness through our practice of mindfulness, deep listening, compassion, and inquiry. So today we are here to know more about the PG Advanced Diploma in Presence Oriented Psychotherapy. And our founder, Sandy Andrade, is the founder and director of Just Being Center for Mindfulness and Presence. She is a mindfulness and presence oriented psychotherapist, practicing since the last 23 years in the mental health field. And her approach blends contemporary psychology with wisdom traditions. She's also the trainer and developer of our two courses and an internationally accredited MBCT teacher. So welcome, Sandy. And I would invite you to share a little about the course before our alumni join in as well.
Yeah, so thank you, Kushali, and thank you, Anushri, Nairuti, Amy, Suryatappa for joining, and all of you who are curious about the presence-oriented psychotherapy program. And of course, as you'll know that this is a 2-year diploma program. We do it in collaboration with St. Mira's College, Pune. And so it is an accredited diploma program. But most importantly, I think, which maybe you'll get to hear more from the alumni, most importantly, the training is one in deepening into mindfulness and having that as a base where we can get more in being a therapist rather than getting into more of a doing mode. And so we're looking at 3 very important aspects of elements of mindfulness and presence that really bring in a transformational aspect to the therapeutic process. And one is the practitioner's presence. So there is a lot of emphasis on the development of our own practices, on being there as we are with the client, very rooted and grounded in ourselves and in presence. And then the second aspect of the training and the course is to really look at the relational field and the relational field between the therapist and client and bringing presence there as well. And what does that mean to bring presence in the relational field? So that really ties in with a lot of understanding attachment work, especially secure attachment, and coming in from that base, creating a sense of safety in the therapeutic relationship, and also creating a sense of inner safety that the client experiences within themselves. So bringing in that sense of inner kindness and compassion is very much part of the work and the approach. The third aspect of the training is looking at bringing in presence for the client. So how can we support the client in terms of coming more into this deeper ground of presence, and where the psychological work is really looked from that ground. And and just in terms of getting a glimpse of or understanding what is presence, that's really the 2-year course. Because it is more of an experiential understanding, And that's what the course is really centered around, to have that experience, both from our own mindfulness practices, from a lot of peer sessions, from client sessions, from practicing as we are learning and applying that, coming back, and each module builds on the previous module. But we'll talk more about the structure of the course and any questions that you'll have and elements that uh, get added. But maybe first we'll hear from our alumni. And I'm really very deeply grateful for them to kind of come here this Sunday morning, because the work is more experiential. It is it's more of an inner process, and to get an understanding of that, it's always good to hear of their journey and how it was for them. And any questions that you all may have, you all can bring it, you know, to Anushri and Suryatapa, and Nairuti and Amy. Yeah. So okay. So over to you, Kushali.
Thank you, Sandy, for giving us a brief introduction of the course. And would also like to take a moment to invite everyone, if you can switch on your videos. It is nice to like establish connection and be present in the space as well. So thank you. Um, so we'll begin with Anushri, and I would like to share a little bit about Anushri Lokhande. She is associate counseling psychologist with us at Just Being Center. And through her decade-long professional journey, she has integrated her training in mindfulness, presence, and animal-assisted therapy to create a unique approach to healing and growth. So over to you, Anushri.
Um, I'll start off with my voice. It's a little gone because of the flu, so I might cough and I might have water. But yeah, um, I was sitting here before the session and just sort of going over the 2 years, and I was just smiling. It's like, okay, how do I put this into words? Even though, like, yeah, it's there's so much to share. I think that's what I was sitting with. Um, I think the first thing I'd like to talk about is how deeply meaningful it is to really practice sitting and practice being. Uh, so, mindfulness practices that are taught in the course really help in that, help in allowing for settling of the therapist, of myself. It really helped me do that for myself, build a capacity within me to be with all of me. And when that happens, that sort of translates into how can I bring that safety for the client in front of me. Um, I think that is a very important aspect of the work, which I felt like in my master's, I knew I have to do this, and these are like important things to do, and it's like you just know how to do it. Is the uh, this is how it was taught. Like, oh, you just have to say these things and it happens, but it didn't ever happen for me. And sometimes it would happen when I was really silent and very like settled within me, and I wouldn't be able to place as to like how do I do this more often. So I think this course really helped bring in that settling, bring in that safety, through the mindfulness practices, which go on throughout the 2 years, which build that skill in us. It's a practice, it's a skill. So, and it's really honed and developed and held throughout, which I think is very useful. And then to even now bring that with my clients, and it happens so gently, like, okay, we just come and why don't we just like when they enter the office space, and man, I just sit, orient to the space and just take a few moments from outside to inside. In that, also, there's so many small ways that mindfulness practices just then weave in to the therapy session. Obviously, in more detail, also by using techniques like pausing and slowing down so they're able to meet what's going on for themselves um, truly. Otherwise, we clients sort of sometimes just like move and then we move with them. And then there's just so much doing that happens. And that used to happen earlier where before I was present that, okay, this is, I use this technique now and this, and I know what to do, and I'm here and I will do. Yeah, so much more happens when we don't do and when we sit there fully with them. Uh, yeah, and that takes a lot of capacity building within, and that is what the course really truly offers, I feel. Um, I think the second thing that I want to talk about is I mentioned how the techniques that I studied during the masters, but here I feel in the course, as much as there's settling, uh, there's also so much theory, so much background to what we're doing, why we're doing it. And that orientation and knowing that this information is there in the background and it is available and I don't have to like keep bringing it in. Uh, and knowing and being able to understand, okay, this is what's happening in the session. Uh, and that's why it's helping. And this is what we need to then look at and do more in that sense is also something that I think is very helpful as a therapist to know, to understand the theory, to and then to bring it into practice. Mm. Yeah, and then the second last thing that I want to bring in is what brings me the biggest smile to my face is in the 2 years, it just I felt like my experience was I got to meet so many people who were willing to sit with themselves um, and see themselves, which also let them see me. And I found that so precious to be around like-minded people or just people who uh, who are willing to be open in that way. Um, I think it was really precious for me to have that support, that community. And the course has this really nice aspect where you practice with your peers and you can reach out to whichever peer and practice those things and then you have to document it. But it's really good to have that support, to have that space and friendship when that community comes in. I found that really, really nice. Um, so the last thing I want to talk about is like I think they mentioned wholeness, but seeing not just the self but the clients also as okay and fine and whole, and there's nothing to fix, and there is health in them, and they are doing what they need to, and we hold space for all that is there, and something emerges and something works, and yeah, and gets there's more ease. I think it's my time to stop talking because I'm gonna start coughing. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Anushri, for sharing and wishing you ease with the cough. Yeah, thank you for sharing about mindfulness, how the practice is so um, included in the entire 2-year program. And how in your masters you understood theory and there was a lot of space to bring it into practice in this course, and finding a sangha, a group of people, like-minded people who are willing to um, sit with themselves and sit with you and see you as well. And lastly, not just seeing yourself as whole, but also the client as whole. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I would now like to invite Nairuti Trivedi. She has been working in the field of mental health since the last 13 years, and currently she's a counselor at a renowned university in Ahmedabad. Uh, Over to you, Nairuti.
Thank you, Kushali. And yeah, thank you, Sandy, um, for inviting me. I think I'm really happy to talk about this because this means a lot to me. So, even if it's Sunday morning, I mean, not even once I had that ick in my mind that why do I have to do this? Um, so, I think I would really want to tell you all that the space that Sandy has created is very sacred, and that's how I see it. Um, I never realized, I mean, even though part of me knew that what's the gap um, in, my therapeutic self to what is actually going on in therapy room. But when I really went there, it kind of made sense to me because I could really tap into what's the gap um, you know, in my own practice. And I did various courses to like really understand that, okay, what can I do next? What can I do now? How do I meet this in my therapy room? And it always had that kind of a side of me that once when I learn this, I'll know how to fix this for my client. And I mean, of course, that's a good space because, in some ways you're really caring for your client. But I really realized that, I was going on in that journey just through my mind, and I was not at all tapping into what that is doing to my body when the client is also coming in. They also have their own thoughts, sensations, and feelings around it. And I think I really got introduced to that through this course. Um, and when I heard about it, I was like, okay, what is this about presence? I'm present to, things happening. But when I really joined, I realized that it's such a different quality of presence that this course is introducing me to, which I didn't know that, this presence is so potent. Um, and I can actually go on about how this 2 years have transformed me personally, my therapeutic space with my client, and how it has also shifted the relational space with my clients. But I would really want to talk a little bit about how that journey began and what really made me realize that, oh no, I'm doing this. Is I had really gone to just being for introduction to presence oriented therapy, and it was like a 3 day introduction, three days of introduction, or maybe 2 days of practices. And when I returned back to my work, I realized that there was something different in me. I didn't have words back then what that is, but how I could really understand that was when I met a client who was been abused physically. And in that moment, I realized that whatever I will say to empathize with this client is not going to make sense because this person is feeling physically very bad. And this framework that I had done with Sandy over 2 days really, really slowed me down. And I slowed down with the client, and we really worked with building that kind of a safety in the body. And that client had to go back home. where the client wanted to like really roam around on street, and this was a girl client. I was scared. And in that 1 hour, we could tap into that safety in the body. I don't think, I would have been able to do that with psychoanalytic work that I was doing for um, last 7 years. And it just made me realize that, okay, probably this is something, I really wanted to pursue. Not, and I think at that point of time, I think, of course, helping my client was one, but the other thing was also me sensing into something shifting in me. And I think I wanted to give myself that kind of a chance for 2 years, to see what this does to me. So, with that curiosity, I had enrolled myself to this course. And I think I have gained much more than, I imagined. Um, One, because this is a very well designed course rooted in experiential learning, as Sandy and Anushri said. Um, it really deepens your beingness, and that's what you really bring to the therapy room every day, a client after client. If you are not in touch with it, now I know that, what was I really missing on a day-to-day basis. Um, it's so important to also understand that how do you support yourself when you're overwhelmed as a therapist, because that's something you experience a lot. And I think it's really beautiful because, it's very gentle. It really allows you to meet yourself and also the client from one moment to another, and how trans transformational our experiences are, like, and to really like gently touch it and meeting your client has been the take home for me, because I always came from, having an agenda. Like, I never said it, but inside my mind, I always had, like, okay, I really want to work with this part of, you know, my client, and, we need to look at it. And I think I'm really slowly also learning. I can say I'm still slowly learning how not to have an agenda, and what it is to like really meet the other person wherever they are, exactly where they are, and what it really does. Um, Something else that has also shifted for me is how I support myself, not just in therapy room, but in general. I never knew that, how my body um, needs a different kind of pace or a different kind of support. Um, and now when I do that, um, I also see that how it has, I'm not always in a state of worry and always in a state of doing a lot of things, even for myself. And overall, I think, I started this journey as, this will change me as a therapist, but this has actually changed me as a person also. Um, and I really love that, because I don't think anybody wants to live their life, just by thinking, doing things. There's so much deeper about our life, things that we want to do, and I think that's the deeper space you can really tap into. And it's not just you, everybody in the module is everybody in some ways trying to do that for themselves, which itself becomes so supportive to one another. And it's great to have like a bunch of peers that you can reach out to if you're going through something. While being on this course, I think I went through something really, really bad, And this space became my anchor. And the inner safety that Sandy talked about, I think she talked about from a lens of how do you do that with a client. But for me, I it happened by being part of this course. I mean, for me, I never felt that okay, I can't be this or I can't be that, and that opened up so much for myself. And yeah, I think if I have a choice, I would never want to, disconnect from these practices and courses. When we were talking about not going back to these modules, I was wondering, oh my God, this is going to be so different and difficult, because who doesn't like safety and beautiful space, right? I mean, if you know that okay, if you go there you're going to feel fine, who doesn't want to have that? um, so yeah, I think a lot has happened. Something else that I also learned was that when I have allowed my beingness, um, it has not just changed me or my therapeutic space, but it has also changed um, older people in my family, because they've seen me change a little. Um, and they kind of, I see that, when I allow myself, I think, even for them, they have seen that transformation in me. And for me, that has been very, very meaningful, because I've seen, women folks in my family like do so much and not pause. Um, this always makes me feel very emotional because I really care for them. So, yeah, I think it's not just about, one aspect of me. It has an impact on so many things around me, which makes it even more precious. Um, yeah, yeah, that's about it. Thank you for listening to me so intently. I loved the smileys and hearts that I saw while I was talking to you. Yeah.
You, Nairuti, such a heartfelt sharing and such a whole sharing of your experience of the program. And I think what stayed with me is how you mentioned about coming from the psychoanalytic approach to coming to the body, staying with your body, that helping you slow down, and in the process, supporting a client as well to do that. And how not having an agenda and meeting the client where they are and meeting yourself where they are, where you are. And also being held in this with a group of people who are also doing the same thing, holding themselves and holding you, and you holding yourself, you holding them. So that was really beautiful to hear. Yeah, and deepening the roots of therapy and what it really means for you. Thank you. Yeah, now I would like to call Suryatapa Mehti. She's a psychotherapist who practices an eclectic approach, which is mindfulness based, integrating CBT, IFS, parts work, and presence oriented psychotherapy to support deeper self awareness and healing. Welcome, Suryatapa.
Thank you, Kushali. I just wanted to take a moment and share how it was so lovely to hear the reflections from Anushri and Nairuti. I think I resonated with so many things, and I'm just staying with what was being shared. Um, and I would like to share how I kind of got into this course. Before this course, I had a very theoretical understanding what mindfulness is, what it was. And I always thought maybe I don't have the capacity to practice it. Maybe it's not something that I could do as a person. But when I came into this course and started to practice it with people, my peers, and it was introduced in a very simple way. And that really worked for me personally. How we started with something very small, very simple, and then build our way up. So I think after this 2 years, I could say that, oh, I can practice mindfulness. I can sit with myself, meet with myself in a very different way, which is so much meaningful now. Um, and I think this course was very profound for me because now I have a very different, healthier relationship with myself. I think as I talk about the self-work that I was able to do in this course, I noticed how, as the course progressed, I was able to build a lot of self-compassion for myself. And that was new for me. That's why it's so meaningful. And I also noticed how I'm able to build more capacity to hold my difficult emotions. And I feel like I have become my own resource in difficult situations. And now I don't push away my difficult feelings or distract myself. Now I have developed the capacity to sit with myself. And I think slowly, I think, getting better at it as I'm with it. And this was only possible because how this course was taught to us. And like it's shared before, it's very experiential in nature. And I think, again, if you hear the theory, if you read about it, it feels different. But when you start to notice how it's actually affecting your body and the relationship with yourself, then I think it develops a shift. So I think now I have an understanding, like a bodily understanding about how safety feels like, as it was shared. And how every time I come back to the course with every module, suddenly my body feels so safe. And I get in touch with so deep restfulness and calmness that I could not experience before. So every time I come into the course, I come into the modules, I see my peers, my body automatically goes in a very safe space. So I think with the teachings and with my interaction with my dear peers, I finally understood what safety feels like. And how in that safety, I was able to get in touch with very deeper emotions as well. So I think I would not have been able to create a healthy relationship with myself if I was not feeling safe or if I did not get in touch with these particular emotions. And as now I understood what safety feels like, what restfulness feels like, what slowness feels like, I try to bring that essence into my client sessions as well. Before starting this course, I think I also came from that space like, oh, what to do right now? What modality to use? Where to go from here? How can I make a very good structure so that the client feels very supported, helped? And there was a lot of doing energy that I was coming from. Given it's very helpful in some cases and it's important, it also made me very anxious. So I think from the space of anxiety, I was not able to connect with my clients. And because I was starting my work as well, I thought, okay, I have to be perfect in some cases to be a therapist. But now that, we went through this course and everything, I kind of, now I'm coming from a very presence-rooted space. And now I feel kind of confident in the work that I do, because whenever I try to connect with my clients, I try to see how I'm connecting with myself first. So before the sessions, we do grounding, and then we come into the sessions. And also during the session, I just don't think that the client is there. I also count myself as a body. So I always see how I'm meeting with myself first, and then I meet the client. And I think through this very internal attunement that I was able to develop, I'm really able to hold space for both me and the client to hold the difficult emotions and just the sadness and disappointment that comes with life. And I think through this, I'm also see that we are able to create a container for all these experiences. Um, and I've also noticed in the relational space how they are also noticing my presence. And in some cases, I've also noticed how the clients are also slowing down with me. They are pausing, they are taking a break, and the silences, which was a little bit uncomfortable before, now feels like more meaningful. So I was really surprised and also shocked to kind of notice that shift with my clients when I was in presence. Um, and I think, again, coming back to the practices that we learned during the module, what attunement is, how it feels like in the relational space, how the dual awareness works, um, and how resonance comes into the practice. When we were learning it, I think for me, it was kind of new for me to catch up. So I was just trying to see, okay, dual awareness, how does it work? Okay, resonance, how does it work? And I think because we practice it so much in this 2 years, now it feels very easy for me. Like it becomes easier for me to get in touch with that resonance or touch with that attunement now that I'm in my sessions. So I feel very grateful for that. And that kind of brings me back into my body more and really grounds me. Um, and in the relational space also, I have noticed how the trust is also getting built with me and my client, because there is no rush, there is no push. We are just trying to sit with whatever is coming first and staying with it. I think this way the trust is getting built, and I feel very grateful for that. And my aim, or how I would like to have the session, is always give the give the client that space for them to connect with themselves so that they can build awareness about themselves, and also, you know, get in touch with their difficult emotions, their strength, and build self-compassion for themselves. And I think as we are in presence, as we are sitting with everything that is coming up, there's very gentle wisdom that gets generated. Somewhere something shifts. I think Nariti was saying that. And I've also noticed that in my sessions. So I think as we build empathy, compassion, and wisdom for ourselves, it just becomes a very cornerstones of healing, I think. And I think it gives a very profound space to have any transformation, transition. Um, when I first entered the course, I did not imagine how important it would be for me. But I think because I was able to do such deep self work, that it has also come up for me in my client sessions as well. So I'm very grateful for this space. I hold this space very dear to my heart. And I really, I don't know what would I have done without it. I met so many great people and felt so loved, so safe, that it also helped me to find love and safety for myself. Yeah, so I would also like to highlight one important thing is that how the course is being taught, and how Sandy creates a very gentle and safe space for us also to slowly move towards this. And I'm also very surprised how such experiential thing can be taught. And I think it has come from time and again, and that we don't know how it happens, but it happens. I'm always in shock and awe that how something so important is being taught in a very simple and easy way. Um, yeah, I just wanted to highlight that because I think that has been a very important pillar for my internal work and my work as a therapist. So yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Suryatapa, for sharing about your whole journey with the course, starting from your experience of mindfulness, moving from it being theoretical to experiential, and how you experienced the course in the beginning, receiving it in small and simple bites, and then, progressively kind of building up your way up. And the key part being of how the course is taught, and that experience aligning with what it is for you now, and how you build a healthy relationship with yourself over the course, over the time of the course, and counting yourself as a body as well in the client space, in the therapeutic relationship, and that internal attunement that you got in touch with that helped you expand your capacity to hold space. And the cornerstone being empathy, compassion, and wisdom for transformation. Thank you for your sharing, Surya. Okay. Yeah, now I would like to invite Amy Chaudhary. Amy is an expressive arts and movement therapy practitioner and a mindfulness and presence-oriented psychotherapist. She works with nurse and antenatal couples in group settings and supports adolescents and adults in individual therapy. Welcome, Amy.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kashali, Sandy, and all the alumni who are there. There's so much of expansion in my heart. Like my hand is like time and again going here. Like I'm experiencing, um, like this sharing, the bodies receiving and present to this wholesomeness in each of the sharing that's there. So it's so palpable that I'm still receiving it. And I'm also present right now to the presence of my peers who've been such an integral part of the course. Yeah. So just wanted to start with that. Yeah. And yeah, I think for me as a personal journey of this course, for 12 years, I had been a teacher. So the doing mode was like that, with the students and very goal oriented and doing things, solving things, to quitting my job and starting with my master's in psychology, the expressive arts. And when I had interview with Sandy, she's like, you're doing so many things and you have this. And I was like, yeah, but a part of me really wants to do it. So I'll be able to handle all of that. You just give me admission in the course, I'll do it. Yeah, but from that doing to experience the being, I think that was my journey with the course. Yeah, to just experience myself as I am. And in the beginning of the course, I felt like an open vessel to receive because this was such a new terrain for me. Yeah. And my body just felt so open to I felt like a sponge actually. Yeah, to experience my own self. Yeah, as is. Like, to really notice that I'm not broken, that there's nothing wrong with me. Yeah. And I am as I am. And can I acknowledge that? I think that was so profound in my journey. And today also, when I had to speak, that teacher part really comes. Oh, I should get my notes and all of that ready. And then I took a pause. There's this 3-minute breathing practice that is such an integral part of my personal self and myself as a therapist. So I just came to that grounding to really experience the course in my body. And can I speak from that? So so now I'm able to, it's not either or. Can I hold both? Can I hold my anxiety which comes up when I have to speak in front of people? And can I also root myself in my own presence and grounding and share from there? So this capacity building that happened organically as you move in the course, as you join in, it's like, hands that join together and you move. I think that capacity building that happens allows to touch yourself into that sense of wholeness and presence and speak from there. So yeah, that's what really alive right now. Yeah. And from there, to be able to anchor and ground myself. Like I'm sitting on the floor right now, taking in support of Mother Earth. So all of these things that I'm sharing is the course that has given it to me. And it has just become so much of the integral part. Like I don't have to think, oh, I need this. It just arises. I think there is an innate nature that we all have. That's the innate sense of presence, the innate sense of wholeness. And this course has allowed me to tap into that time and again. And it's like I'm always arriving into this. And with that space, when I started working during my internship, working with nurses, I felt that there is so much of shift as I embody the presence. Yeah, I'm able to, there's some shift that happens. I'm able to offer that to the client, to the group, who can also sense into their presence, who can also sense into their experiences. And also, what came up for me was this sense of okayness. Can I be okay with being sad? Yeah. Can I be okay, with not being okay at times? Yeah. And when that comes in that relational space with client and you offer that, there is a moment to moment shift that you notice. Yeah, something shifts. Yeah, with the client as well. So the course has been like a journey of allowing your experiences, acknowledging them, and accepting them as they are, and then noticing how transformation happens. And I think also the relationship to my own body. Like I was here, being a teacher, you're here, yeah, academics and all. From the journey was from here to here, yeah, but it was a 2.5 year journey. So, yeah, but it was a beautiful journey nonetheless. And this body, yeah, something that I learned from Sandy is befriending the body. Yeah, can I just befriend, make this as my friend? Yeah? Be with and this body has such a beautiful language. Like sometimes I'm like, wow, like, the sensations that come up, the thoughts that come up, the feelings that come up. And when I'm able to witness it, when I'm able to say something in me feels sad, something in me. So I'm able to create that distance and see it and witness it. And then that automatically, gets transpired in that space with the client. So yeah, yeah, for them to notice that, yes, they also have this. And there is no, I think when a client comes up, for me, I also see a sense of wholeness. I'm able to see a sense of wholeness. There is no diagnosis, there's no agenda. To see the client as is, and the client is able to experience that. Like so many times, my clients just say, Amy, we just feel seen. Yeah, we just feel seen as we are. And that means so much to us. So there's nothing that's actively I'm doing, it's just that state of being that they are able to also witness for themselves in their journey. And that presence which has been shared by Nairuti and Anushri and Surya, all of that feeling of wholeness, compassion, non-judgment, safety, resonance, attunement, the wisdom that we hold, yeah, that entire thing in the course is so beautifully and seemingly integrated with parts work, with your neurobiology, with developmental patterns, with trauma work. And then slowly, my journey became from this gross to the subtle, to what's in the energy that's inside. So if I'm here, I notice that my energy is here. How through breathing, how through just the breath can I just ground and anchor my energy in my belly? And if that is not happening, can I use like sound? Can I use movement? Can I just touch the floor? Yeah. And just allow myself to experience that shift. Yeah. And also, so many times I'm still in touch with my peers, all of them. And every time we meet, Sandy is, she's part of the conversation. Yeah. And I was never able to go offline for trainings. I met her when it was my convocation. So I used to ask my peers, how is Sandy? Like we meet her online and she has this presence. And one of the peers said, you experience her. There's something about her. She's an experience of presence in herself. And I was like, wow, hopefully one day I can also experience that. So that's what she brings into to the space as well. Yeah. And I'm really feeling short of words right now because my body is speaking so much. There's nostalgia, there's expansion. But I feel one is you experience and one is how beautifully it gets integrated to any modality that you're coming from. Any. My primary modality was expressive arts therapy, and how it just blends so beautifully, and how independently also it works so beautifully. Yeah, the client does not want to go into the narrative. Yeah, and you just work with what the client is bringing. It's bringing that sensation. So there is no active seeking. Like you don't have to put your this thing here. You can just be. Yeah, you can notice. Yeah. And I think that's what really stays with me. Yeah. And that's what I want to share. And I also want to share that it would be beautiful if people can really experience this course. Like it's transformative for you, for your clients, and you can be a drop in the ocean, yeah, when you experience this course. I think that's what. And it will go, I think life, Sandy offers something that it's there in the body for life. Yeah, and it's not just work, it becomes a prayer for me. Like it's ibadat for me when I'm holding that space for the client. That's the presence that I experience in this space. And there's so much of heartfulness and gratitude uh, that comes up for Sandy all the time for what the becoming that we are, the unfolding that we are, because that wholeness is there. It's just the unfolding of the petals that happen throughout the course. So that's what I want to share. A lot of gratitude. Thank you.
Hmm. I just don't want to speak right now and, like, just let your sharing just come in the way you spoke from the place of speaking from the body, just letting myself also receive that. Thank you, Amy. Yeah, and I think at the start you shared how you moved from a doing mode to an experience of being, from gross to subtle, and befriending the body, and how that has been a journey as well, and how the course is an integration uh, with different modalities. It can be integrated, and how by itself, independently also, it works. So thank you for sharing your experience, Amy.
Maybe we can take a bit of a pause, and just inviting everyone to just see, after listening to everyone sharing, just what's here for you in whatever way. And we just take a pause and just in silence, just allowing things to settle as it might, and see what's here as a question or a curiosity.
Thank you so much. Is the space open for questions now?
Yeah. Are we going into questions, Kushali, now?
Yes, we can. I just wanted to add that to the alumni. Firstly, thank you once again for coming here and sharing your experiences, such personal, deep experiences that you have shared, and holding a lot of gratitude for Anushri, Nehruti, Suryatapa, and Amy. Thank you for sharing. And when the questions come, if you, for the participants, you can either put it on chat and we can take it, or you can just unmute and share. If someone is speaking and you want to join in, you can just raise your hand as well and we can take your question next. And for the alumni who are here, if you want to share as well, you can just unmute and share your response to the question. Yeah. Anything else, Sandy, you would like to add?
No,
Okay.
no. Still deeply moved by all the sharings. Yeah, yeah. But go ahead. We can have questions and an exploration. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kunal.
Hi. Give me a minute. I'm just organizing my thought. I understand that the first module of the course is in August. On June 21st is when the mindfulness session begins. My questions are, so I work in the social space, and my questions are, one, uh, is this an entirely online course, or is this the hybrid format? Uh, uh, Number two, what's the duration going to be? And third, the cost of the course.
Yeah, so all of those details are also there on the website and the link that Priya has shared in the chat. But just to let you know, this course is offered in a hybrid way. So you can attend it online, uh, and you can attend it in person, or even a mix of in person and online. For the retreat, so there are 8 modules, 2 of which are the retreats. It is preferable for people to attend the retreats in person because it's practicing together and being together. But the course does offer the space to do it online or in a combination of in person and online. And and you're right, the duration is like our first module starts in August. Before that, we have a pre-program practice, which is just practice of coming together, getting familiar with the practice of mindfulness and just practicing together, which is the 40-day practice. I would strongly suggest, if you're looking at the course, to also look at coming in with the practice, because then that gives a sense of the practice itself. Each module is approximately around 5 days. Yeah, it is 5 days, and and each module is after the first module is in August, the next module is in November, so every 2 or 3 months is the next module. In between the modules, there are the coursework that we engage with, so that whatever we have learned experientially now, we are practicing it. When we document it, we are able to see what is it that we're doing, and all of this is aiding the learning journey and the learning experience. The retreat is 7 days, so the rest of the modules are 5 days. And the way the course is structured is that, like I said in the beginning, every module builds on the previous module. So, what is a presence oriented psychotherapeutic approach is really then over the 2 years that one gets a sense of the whole thing, because we are including many aspects, like we are including attachment, trauma work, and everything from the place of presence. So every module builds on the previous module. So it is necessary that if we sign up for the course, that we are in it and able to attend the modules. Because it is experiential, we can't see it through recordings, or you won't get a sense of it. Of course, if in case you just can't make it or something happens and in our lives things happen, then there's always the possibility of trying to adjust for that. But it is preferable to really take that time off for those 5 days during the module. I don't know whether I covered all of your questions, Kunal. And yeah, and the Kushali would like to share about. All the details of the course and the modules also, and the fees is all there on the link and on the website.
Thank you, Sandy.
So where are you located, Kunal?
Mumbai.
Okay, all right. We just see if there is any other thing that maybe we wish to share, or maybe your interest in the course, your interest of being here. Maybe we can also talk about that. And yeah, if anyone else would like to share or ask any questions.
If nobody has a question, I'm happy to share my motivation behind this, but I'll wait for people to ask questions first.
Sure.
Hi, I'm Gayatri.
Mm.
And I I'm thinking of switching to psychology so I'm not from psychology background. And I was wondering what are the things to look for, how to choose the right course. And I think there are a lot of things going on in my mind. But right now I'm just trying to figure out which way to go.
Yeah. So, like Kushali mentioned, just being offers two courses. So, one is this 2-year diploma, which is in presence oriented psychotherapy, and the other course is a 1-year diploma in in mindfulness based counseling or listening with embodied presence. So the 2-year course is an advanced. It's an advanced diploma. So we really start from a premise that people have some background. They have the background of mindfulness, they have the background of psychology or therapy, or they have done the 1-year course. Because the 1-year course also, both the courses are based on the same principles, it has the same orientation, but in the 2 years we are going into the therapeutic aspects. Whereas in the 1 year, it would be about holding space for others, which by itself is therapeutic, but it's about holding space. So generally, we recommend that if you're just starting out or you don't have a background in psychology, you want to see what it is like, then to do the 1 year. And after the 1 year, you might want to see that, okay, I want to take a deeper dive in this, and then you do the 2 years. So there are these options, and we will be having a sort of open house for the 1-year course as well. Um, yeah, but both these courses are pretty strong and rooted in mindfulness and presence.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Also, the 1-year course is open to people from a non-psychology background because the intention there is that there are more spaces required in the world, and there are not that many mental health professionals and psychologists. So anyone who wishes to hold a space and who, there is an inner sense of doing that, then the course offers that base and the skills to be able to hold space for individuals and groups.
Thank you, ma'am.
Can I ask?
Sure, Joel.
Yeah. So, hi everyone. My name is Joel. I'm actually final year master's student in psychology with a specialization in health and well-being. So, for the last about 1 year during the entire final year, I have been taking pro bono sessions under supervision from my faculty. So after my master's degree, I was interested in kind of deepening my counseling skills as well as something which would help me refine my, as this course offers, presence as a therapist. So I just wanted help to understand, first of all, what is the difference between the traditional, let's say, a postgraduate diploma, like a 1 year, and this 2 year course. And again, if I were to, let's say, work after my graduation, how would I integrate or how would I be able to balance work as well as this if I wanted to join in a hybrid format? So these two.
So let's take the second part of your question in terms of because it is meant for working professionals, it is meant for practicing professionals. So and yet you do need to make time for the course. So it's not just the modules, but because of the coursework and your individual, mindfulness practice. So keeping aside about 6-7 hours a week, then everything flows more smoothly. So that kind of time and attention is needed, and then you're integrating that anyway in your practice, in your ongoing work with clients. So the learning is ongoing and you're in touch with the work. So you can do it, and in fact, all of our alumni have also been kind of, having their own practice or working. And I'd also invite anyone else to kind of share on how that is. And as to how is this different or similar to, let's say, a 1-year counseling course. I'm not talking about our 1 year because it's similar. Like you've heard from the alumni, I think this course in some way develops that frame and that base from where one can engage in therapeutic work, right? So it's not just an orientation or an intellectual orientation to different ways of doing therapy, but it is really getting into what does it mean to kind of be there with a client, being with myself, and allowing for an unfolding of experience. In some way, the approach is also unique. Like, it is a mindfulness based approach, it is a presence oriented approach, but it is an orientation. So, which means, like many of them have shared, you can bring in other modalities with it. It's not like I only have to practice it this way. I can bring that in with other things, but it will change how you're doing things, you know. So, in that sense, while it is an advanced course, it also gives the foundation or the fundamental ground on which we can actually engage in therapeutic work. I don't know whether anyone wants to add, any of the alumni want to add to this from your own experience. Just feel free to come in if you'd like. Does that help to answer your question, Joel?
Yes, yeah, thank you.
Just want to say that it is like when we choose to do this course, it is a commitment that we are taking on. And that does mean every 2 months for 5 days, you have to take that, block that time off. And it's my experience was better to just immerse in the course uh, and not try to do sessions also on that day. And like as therapist, like not try to do sessions also like other work, to just really take in this what is being taught and offered. Um, yeah, it requires some planning, and but it's
So it's doable, but it requires the balancing, and uh, and I think if you are practicing and if you are working, then it gives you that much of room also to practice, to bring in what you're learning into the practice in an ongoing way. Yeah.
So in terms of the course requirement, that would mean monthly 5 days or um,
So 5 days every 2 months.
every 2 months. Okay. And in addition, there would be a retreat as well.
The retreat is one of the modules.
Okay.
The retreat is 7 days. So our first module is in August, then the second module is in November, the retreat is in Jan, then the next module is in March, and that's the way it goes. That's the end of year 1, and then we enter into year 2. Yeah. Yeah. And before that is just a 40-day practice. We just meet half an hour for just practicing together. And if you can't make it, you can just practice on your own with the recordings. You can also just feel free to write to us if there are any more questions that come up or some clarification that you need. When you apply for the course, there will be a space to share and to also ask more questions. Yeah. And so if there is, yes.
If I may,
Yeah, I
please
can
go
go
on.
after. I'll go
No,
after.
no, I'll wait. That's okay.
Okay, okay, sure.
I had a question very specific to myself. You can
Sure,
continue.
sure. Thank you. So I was also curious to understand how the course is structured. So I understand that it's a 2-year course, and every 2 months there will be a 5-day retreat, uh, which would be in person, right? It could be attended online as well,
Yes.
right? So what I want to understand, I think while talking about the course, you had also mentioned that there would be some trauma focus and some topics like that. So if you could talk a little more about the course content. I know that some information is already on the website. I will check it out. But just so that I just want to understand what are those specific things I can take away other than the overall modality itself.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So in module 1, it is really about the presence of the therapist, and through mindfulness practice and through being with and listening in a moment to moment way, and to really come into that practice. Module 2 is where it is presence in the relational space. So there, where we are really looking at attachment patterns, both our own and what comes up in the relational space and the clients, and that interaction, and how we can come into a secure attachment. Also, the focus on bringing that inner relating. So we are bringing elements of the focusing methodology, which is Eugene Gendlin's focusing methodology, in developing that inner relationship, first understanding that for ourselves, and then how does that translate in our therapeutic work. So that naturally brings in the sense of compassion and self-compassion in therapy. And there's a lot of work and research around that. The retreat, which happens in Jan, the next module, is really for the therapist, for the practitioner, to deepen into the understanding of mindfulness, and also be able to, if you'd like, to be able to hold or bring mindfulness in group spaces, right? So that's what we're really looking at in the retreat. But it's more a consolidation of what we have done, till then, and really deepening into the practice. Because different people move at a different pace, like we all have our individual ways, and it's not one size fits all, so it's different practices, and finding out if one were to offer this to the client, one needs to experience it for oneself. You need to know, okay, what is it that is happening and how do I navigate that? Then that comes in a very informed way for the client when we are introducing mindfulness. So that's the intention. The next module is bringing in more presence for the client by really looking at, so it's very IFS informed, where we're looking at paths and the inner relationship of paths and self as presence and paths. So there is a lot of focus on that, and what the alumni have been talking about, this whole principle of wholeness, how does that translate into the therapeutic work? After year one, it's really setting the base for then to go into some nuances like being in the body, what does that mean, and how, and when we are in the body, then we often meet with trauma imprints. So how do you meet trauma imprints as they show up? So understanding the physiology, understanding this understanding, so there are many elements of somatic psychology that are common over there, and to really kind of get into that base. After that, as I think one of the students said, very naturally, it moves then into subtle body work. Having the sense of, okay, how can I be with what comes up, and also what comes up from at a physiological level or as a trauma response, and how do we kind of settle in with that. Then also coming into the subtle body, because when we are approaching trauma and trauma imprints, the subtle body becomes extremely important, because a lot of the work and the holding can happen from there. And by that time, there is a refinement of the sensing and the tuning, so one is able to do that. Also, the subtle body work is more for oneself as a practitioner, rather than something to do with the client. So we're not, bringing that in so actively for the client. And then again, we have the retreat, which is again a deepening of whatever we have done, more embodiment, because that's the emphasis, right? More and more being embodied ourselves. And then our last module is like really putting the whole thing together, of seeing the whole perspective of all these threads, how do they come together, and really just dropping into being there and allowing that unfolding to happen. So, like you have, the title of the course is rather long. It's Presence Oriented Psychotherapy, Integrating Mindfulness, Compassion, Wisdom, a Non Dual Approach. So, in the last module, it's really about understanding this. What's this non dual approach that we are taking? It is there through the course, but then we are focusing more on that. So, and therefore I said each module builds on the previous module. So you do a little part, you establish yourself in it and in your client work, then there is another edition. So there is a layering of how we are learning it. And then there are all these different elements, right, of somatic psychology, attachment work, the paths work, all of that kind of these different pieces coming in, but it's really integrated.
Thank you so much.
We also have, along with myself, faculty that come in, some international faculty. Some of them have been my mentors, people whom I have learned with, and they come in a very supportive way. Like we have focusing, which is the focusing elements taught by Fiona Parr from the UK. Then we have Bruce Stevenson, who's an IFS therapist, and also very much into non-dual work, who offers some sessions. Sometimes we also have John Prendergast coming, who's like really like a major force in the field of bringing all these elements into psychotherapy worldwide. And also Patricia Meadows one of my mentors who she brings in lots of elements of the somatic and attachment work. So we do call in faculty who can support, and the course is also supported by our alumni who assist on the course, and that's a big support. So they're there, and for this kind of, though we'd like to have more of that, for this kind of holding that might be required through the course and also with assignments.
Thank you, Sandy, for the comprehensive explanation of the course and what it contains. I just want to share that if you have any questions, you can reach out to Priya on the number shared in chat, or even email us at justbeingcenter@gmail.com. We will also be...
One thing,
Yes.
Kushali, is that maybe Priya, you can introduce yourself. She will be your main go-to person. So she holds the whole, all of the admissions and the coordination. So she's the main person there, Priya. It would be good for everyone to know.
Hi, yeah, I'd love to hear from you. I'm Priya. I'm based in Mangalore. I've done the 1-year program with Just Being, and it's been a pleasure to be part of this team. So feel free to reach out to me.
Yeah, Priya is the support, the backbone, definitely. And I just wanted to add that we will also be sharing the recording of this session with all of you on email. I am mindful of the time as well. So if you need to drop off, that is okay. But we will be sharing the recording as well. Yeah. And I know, Kunal, you had a question. Would you like to go next?
Yeah, I'm thinking. Give me a moment. Mine was a very specific question for Sandy from the course perspective. So I'm happy to wait for the benefit of everybody to ask their questions and wait till the end of this conversation.
So then maybe we can close it here. Kushali, really thank you all for being there, for being here and coming. And again, once more, thank you, Anushri, Amy, Nairuti, Surya, Priya, Kushali. Thank you.
Should I wait for a couple of minutes?
Yes.
Sandy, are you around?
Yes, and if there are other people who want to ask some questions, and we can just take some time. Yeah.
Sandy, should I stop the recording or is it okay to? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.